Your Excellency, let's see, Third King of Lesotho. Your Excellency, Macky Sall, President of Senegal and Chairperson of the African Union. Your Excellency, Geingob, President of Namibia. Your Excellency and close friend, Prime Minister Rutte of the Netherlands. Your Excellency Kikwete, former President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Excellencies, colleagues and friends, as climate change hits home across the globe today, there is one region which is suffering more than any other: Africa. A continent, as you know, of 1.4 billion people, let's say around 17% of the global population, contributes less than 3% to the climate emergency. Yet, 9 out of the 10 countries most vulnerable to climate change, they happen to be in Africa. Africa is already in the eye of the storm. Take the Horn of Africa, 20 million people, and 6 million of them are children, are severely food insecure due to the ongoing drought. West Africa, water-related extreme events in countries like Senegal already cost more than 10% of GDP every year, threatening progress that has been on economic growth and poverty reduction. Such crises precipitate huge economic losses, estimated at over 3% of GDP for the whole continent in the medium term. They also threaten peaceful coexistence, leading to inter-community conflict as well as displacement, as people have to relocate in search of food and pasture. So, Excellencies, I make no apologies for raising the alarm. In fact, I don't need to remind you that Africa is fighting multiple crises on several fronts: the economic fallout of COVID-19, an energy and food emergency triggered by the war in Ukraine, all compounded by the climate emergency. But being alarmed by what lies on the horizon is not a prescription for despair, because after all, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And there are many things that we can start doing today to adapt to a future that will have to be greener, more resilient, and more sustainable if we are to have any future at all. Take Kenya. Well, I recently had the privilege of seeing how people are mobilizing to respond to the climate emergency. I saw, for example, a sand dam. It's a very simple, practical, and cost-effective solution to water management. Sustains 6,000 households and 3 schools. Where there were previously only rocks and a dry riverbed, there are now trees and kitchen gardens and a brighter future. But these types of interventions, what they need scale. It is time for bold climate action now. Because adaptation is not just good for the planet, it's an investment. It's an investment in our future and our prosperity. I'm here speaking to you because I believe, in fact, I know that adaptation is not only possible, it makes economic sense. Because when done right, climate adaptation presents significant opportunities for productivity, economic benefits, and poverty alleviation. Last year, in the Global Center on Adaptation's State and Trends on Adaptation report, we found that $1 invested in resilient water and sanitation not only saves lives, it creates up to $12 in economic benefits. But let us not be naive. The cost of action, the cost of investing in adaptation, is not going to be zero. Integrating resilience into agriculture and food systems in sub-Saharan Africa will cost $15 billion annually. But do you know the cost of inaction? Well, in fact, it's $200 billion annually. So this is an opportunity of investment we must seize. And for us at the Global Center on Adaptation, the real story on climate adaptation in Africa is a story of resilience, of responsibility, of solidarity, of opportunities for a safer, greener, and more prosperous continent. Together with the African Union and the African Development Bank, led by President Adesina, we are driving the growth and prosperity agenda of tomorrow through the largest adaptation program ever. The Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, or AAAP, is Africa's response to the climate crisis, mobilizing $25 billion for adaptation in the areas of food security, resilient infrastructure, climate finance, and youth employment. And this ambition is delivered through the AAAP upstream financing facility in the GCA, which is mobilizing $250 million to support African countries and financing institutions to bring them the best knowledge, the best science, and solutions to the development of innovative adaptation projects. What are the results? Well, during the first 18 months of operation, the AAAP upstream financing facility has influenced investments worth over $3 billion alone. So colleagues, we're now 60 days away from the so-called African Cup in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh. And next week, as the CEO of the Global Center on Adaptation, I will convene the Africa Adaptation Summit, together with President Macky Sall, as chair of the African Union, and African Development Bank Group President and great friend Akin Adesina, to bring together global leaders for the inaugural Africa Adaptation Summit at the GCA headquarters in Rotterdam, in the largest floating office in the world. It will mark a vital milestone in our fight against climate change and our collective effort to raise the ambition on adaptation action. Because let us not forget, COP26, it delivered a breakthrough with commitments to place adaptation firmly on the global agenda. How? By doubling adaptation finance by 2025. Well, now is the time to deliver on this pledge. Africa is tired of waiting. And the COVID crisis has demonstrated that trillions of dollars can be mobilized by the international community overnight. We need to match the same bold ambition for the fight against climate change. Today I call on all of you to join us in this journey. Let our ambitions be big and let our actions be bold. I thank you.